Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to make today's video because I feel like every Ramadan we talk about the things that we should be doing, like praying more Quran, more salah, and giving more charity. But sometimes it's important to remind ourselves of the things that we should not be doing. So the first one is for the sisters or like families as a whole, which is spending the whole day in the kitchen. It just defeats the point of Ramadan altogether, which is to remember the poor people and how they survive every single day without being able to eat much or anything at all. And this kind of really defeats the point when we're making 5-course meals and spending a lot of time in the kitchen just preparing meals or like for iftar or suhoor or whatever. It really doesn't make sense and it defeats the point of Ramadan and the reason why we fast. Remember that Ramadan is a time for us to be reflecting and praying more and increasing in our worship and ibadah, not to be in the kitchen the whole time. For the brothers, unfortunately, this is something that is very common in many masajid, that the men only seem to attend the masjid when it's Ramadan time, and then as soon as Ramadan ends, the masajid become empty. Like, it's so beautiful to see that everyone is gathering and worshipping and praying Allah on the days of Ramadan, but as soon as it ends, everyone returns back to what they were doing and they completely forget about salah in the masjid, if it wasn't something that is prescribed by Allah, like as if it was something that was prescribed only for the month of Ramadan. Think that if you can make time in Ramadan to go to the masjid, then you can make time outside of it too. So the important thing is to be consistent. There's even a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل, that the most beloved of actions towards Allah is the ones that are consistent, even if they're not so much, like even if they're little, but consistency is the key. Another thing that we need to stop doing is, I feel like people become super lethargic in when it's Ramadan time, and for some people it's like full-on productivity mode, which is a very good and it's like an encouragement, but for others it's like, now I'm fasting, now I'm not able to do anything and I don't want to do any work. But remember that the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, they used to do everything normally, even if they didn't end up having much to eat at the end of the day, even after fasting the whole day, still at the time of breaking the fast and iftar, they didn't have much food to break the fast with, but still they used to work normally. They didn't make any excuses like, I can't do it because I haven't eaten all day. They even used to fight battles with an empty stomach. So what's our excuse? And fasting is completely the opposite. It's meant to discipline us, not to make us become lazy or like inactive. The other one is how sometimes people turn Ramadan into a social season instead of it being a season for us to worship, a month for us to worship and get closer and connected to God, Allah. We'll just keep hosting back-to-back iftar parties and there's this huge gathering instead of it being a spiritual, you focus more on your spiritual side. There's nothing wrong in doing these gatherings, I'm not saying that, but just keep them to a limit and make sure that you're praying more than, having these gatherings. Make sure that you don't compromise on the amount of Quran that you're praying or the amount of worship that you're doing. And the last one that I want to talk about is when we focus more on the hunger side and not the actual bettering ourselves and our character. So we're avoiding food, but we're not avoiding gossiping and backbiting and anger and all of these bad things that we're supposed to let go of, especially when we're fasting. Of course, we don't want our fast to come invalid and go to waste because of our gossiping or backbiting. At the end of the day, the point of doing that and fasting is to purify us and our hearts and our characters. Ramadan is a blessing for us. It's kind of like a reset button for us, so we shouldn't let it go to waste and we should make the most of it as much as we can and focus on what actually matters. I hope this video was beneficial. If you enjoyed it and if you benefited from it, please subscribe, share, like and comment so that this video can reach more people, and inshallah I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.